Now, an open letter published in today's Guardian's calling for the government to pardon anyone convicted under laws that criminalised homosexuality. It follows the pardon 2 years ago of the wartime codebreaker Alan Turing, who was convicted under obscenity laws in 1952. Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays Alan Turing in the Oscar-nominated film The Imitation Game, and Stephen Fry are among the signatories.
I'm just a mathematician. You've got more secrets than the best of them.
He was a brilliant mathematician, a pioneering computer scientist and a wartime codebreaker whose work saved countless lives and was recently turned into a Hollywood film. But Alan Turing was also gay, a criminal offence at the time. In 1952, he was convicted of gross indecency and chemically castrated. Within 2 years, he had taken his own life. Alan Turing was amongst the most high-profile people to be convicted of homosexuality, but he was far from alone. Tens of thousands were, and today campaigners have published a letter calling for them all to be pardoned. Signatories include Benedict Cumberbatch, nominated for an Oscar for his portrayal of Turing, and Stephen Fry, who has played Oscar Wilde. Also signing the letter, Alan Turing's family.
It is just totally unfair that Alan Turing was giving a pardon and 50,000 other homosexuals haven't been. Yes, Alan Turing was a brilliant man and did so much for this country, but it is not right that the other homosexuals haven't been pardoned.
After a long fight, Alan Turing received a royal pardon in 2013. Campaigners are hoping thousands more, who were once also treated as criminals, will soon be officially recognised as victims. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, Alan Turing chose to be chemically castrated instead of going to prison after being convicted of gross indecency in 1952. Earlier I spoke to Tommy Dickinson, the author of a book about aversion therapy for homosexuals during 1935 to 1974.
You know, homosexuality was actually a diagnosable psychiatric disorder until 1990, and I think, you know, people don't realise that, but yeah, it was actually diagnosable mental illness until 1990.
Was there a sort of a different sort of sense of community and stuff after the war? Was that what brought this to the fore, do you think?
There was, yeah. During the war, there were more liberal attitudes towards homosexuality. People had a kind of live for the moment attitude. After the war, the country needed to kind of rebuild itself, and one of the ways it thought it could do that was to restore traditional family values, and there was a lot of promotion and propaganda around that. And it was believed that homosexuals were at odds with that ideal. And you know, for one reason is that they were seen as, you know, they wouldn't produce children, they wouldn't increase the birth rate. So there was
the choice was prison or going to hospital for some form of therapy.
There was many people were given an option. They were given an option of going to prison or to be hospital to be cured, and you know that's what Alan Turing would have chosen. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't as clear cut as that. Actually, a lot of men actually did put themselves forward for these treatments. The majority of the men I interviewed for the book did actually, you know, because of the pressures and stigma and scandal around homosexuality, that they were willing to try anything, to do anything to make themselves heterosexual, so they put themselves forward for these
It sounds
treatments.
absolutely unimaginable.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very difficult to comprehend what it would have been like for gay men during that time, you know, from today's point of view. But it was a very difficult time. A lot of men who I interviewed expressed kind of, you know, fear, hypervigilance towards the police. They were constantly worried that they would be found out, and then that could mean that they would lose their jobs. They would obviously potentially be prosecuted. So there was huge, you know, there was huge risk around being gay at that time, homosexual at that time.
Tommy Dickinson talking to me earlier.